Welcome to the video where I intend to show you all my finished works in Mythographic books. I have several books, 3 untouched, and in other books I have mostly 1 or 2 pictures, so I can't call them great results, definitely. But I hope that if I look again at these lovely books, it will inspire me to use at least those most interesting books for winter season during January, February, and then to color at least 1 more page in each of my books during the next year. So here we have Frozen Fantasies and Wild Winter, one by Joseph Kattenbank, which is my favorite artist in this series. Second place holds Fabiana Attanasio. When I just got my first books from this series, I was very surprised how different style of Fabiana Attanasio looks in Mythographic series, and in other books with I was familiar, it was her books based on fairy tales. Pinocchio, I think the Snow Queen, some other books, I don't have them, but I saw them on reviews and I wasn't impressed at all by the art. In Mythographic series, I really love her books, especially the last books where we don't have those ugly hidden objects. But it's not the fault of the artist, it's strange beginning of the series. I'm very happy that now they have normal books. So, Joseph Kattenbank. Now he is the only one artist whom I considered almost auto purchase in this series. Of course, I don't have all the books, and the reason is because I don't color very frequently in the books which I already own. But if one day I intend to purchase more, it definitely will be by Joseph Kattenbank. There are other artists which I want to try. I don't have any books by Veronika Kalinski, so definitely one day I will select one of her books and I will try her books. There are artists which I won't purchase anymore at all, and it's Diego Vasquez, I believe, and also Alessandra Fusi. I had enough of those books. But Joseph Kattenbank, I think that all his last books in this series, they really look lovely, even if slightly similar to one another. In Wild Winter, it disappointed me with the quality of binding, and maybe it's one of the reasons why I stopped to coloring it. I absolutely hate when pages start to fall out of the book. I don't like to cut pictures from the books. I prefer my books with normal bindings, so here I have double problem. The first one, it's because it already has this area where we can tear page, which I dislike, and the binding also doesn't hold very well. I try to hold this book with big care, but still it really disappoints me. And for now, I have here this giraffe page. Not bad. I'm not sure that about color choices for the child, maybe the girl. It looks slightly lost despite those red colors which I tried to use for the clothes to attract more attention. But what I love is combo of snowflakes, color of the background, color of the lantern, and the look of giraffe. So, child suffered a little bit. It was the last object which I colored here, and probably my inspiration and imagination, they were slightly lost. Next one is this very gentle, very tender page. I really love color palette here. Despite light colors of the fur of panda, I decided to use also light colors for the background, and I think that it creates some nice atmosphere, something tender, like very appropriate for mother and child, and at the same time quite wintry. So I do love this page. Another one where I wanted to be more dramatic, and I used this classic contrast of cold and warm colors, mother's love protecting her babies, and a lot of harsh, dangerous things around. I think that I managed to do it nicely here. And in these books, I started to use color combo of pencils for the main image and markers for quick background. But I think that I also need to return to watercolor backgrounds. Quite often they also can be a very good decision. This one is done completely with pencils, and probably it's my favorite page finished in this book. I struggled a little bit with a white fur of rabbit with white snow, but thanks to using different colors for shading, bluish colors for shading on the snow and gray colors for the bunny, I think that everything looks quite well. There are some things which really frustrate me in such books, like those hard lines to indicate halo around sources of light, but I managed to mask them partly, but I really don't like when they are repeated from page to page and you don't understand why you need such things. Well, so Frozen Fantasies. Sadly, it's a book with hidden objects, which I tried to mask with everything I had in my stash, with gouache, with markers, with Posca pens, with opaque pencils. So here is my amethyst dragon. I think that this lovely simple black background, it really created a very good contrast to the body of the dragon and to the beautiful snow amethysts. This one was slightly difficult to color because I really loved those snowflakes. Then I covered them with quite dark color of the background, but then I realized that Posca works quite well here, so I managed to outline them. All hidden objects I masked using watercolor paint with minimal amount of water, so they are barely visible. And yeah, that's favorite thing of all Fabiana Attanasio books, those strange lines or swirls. Here we also have them, and I managed to somehow color them using pearl watercolors, so here they don't bother me. You can see that we have them almost everywhere, those lines. It's another thing which I don't like. This one I don't consider as a good thing. Here I struggled with pencils. I think that I tried to use colors. Here they didn't work. I switched to other pencils. Then I wanted a light pink background, but I didn't like the hue of pink which I selected. It was more peach pink, and in the end it didn't match quite well, so I had to cover it. You can see it clearly. Well, so it's slightly it was slightly difficult to color, but great set. Definitely not my favorite, and many pictures in this book you think like, it's not very good, but there are many similar pictures, so you can start again. I mostly colored them to play with some paints, with some pencils which I don't use very frequently. So in this book I love to use color pencils. They work on this paper quite well. Sometimes Arteza also. This one I love. Here I realized that if you want to use watercolors, you need to use it with minimal amount of water. Paper absorbs watercolor quite well. There are no problems with damage of the surface, but you can't do beautiful mixes, beautiful stains, you know, those beautiful areas where you can work wet on wet. No, paper doesn't allow you to do so. But if you apply one layer, then you let it dry, you apply next layer. In such way you can do nice backgrounds. Here I also used many pearl watercolors to make upper part of the page more interesting. And again, I do love this color palette when you do something dark for the background, and all those blue, turquoise, purple colors, I think that they always look very well together. And finally this one. For this page I used several of my Castle Art pastel tints, pastel pencils. I did this page after I got this set and I wanted to use them somewhere. Background again, it was a struggle because there were a lot of ugly hidden objects, totally mismatching the winter Christmas spirit of this page, so I tried to mask them, but I still can see those shapes of those objects, and it definitely slightly masked my impression from doing this page, but I still love it. And surprisingly, the book where I have the biggest amount of finished pictures, it's Paradise. It's definitely not my favorite book in the series. I much more love Aviary or Deep Blue or other books by Kattenbank, but somehow in the book by Fabiana Attanasio, Paradise, I managed to finish a lot of pictures, and here I did watercolor background, pencil image, and you can see ugly objects, very thick black lines. I'm glad that later they adjusted requirements to the pictures, and later books they are much easier to color. And again, those stupid swirls. This one I did this summer, and I do love this one because I used a lot of gouache paints here. I'm not very experienced with gouache, but I consider it as a great media for a background. I just need to learn how to use it better. Somehow here I managed to use it. It helps me again with hidden objects, and I do love those vibrant, rich colors, perfect for tropical paradise. This one I always want to do but never have time, or maybe I can't imagine all colors for this page, so I'm a little bit afraid to do it. And that's another one which I love. Maybe it will be good for winter season. Here I don't know how to explain myself why I selected such a strange color for the background. Just wanted to use this paint which I don't use. I wasn't able to use anywhere. The rest I do love, especially those unique birds with such greenish feathers. Very interesting. I discovered those birds when I googled birds for Manuel de Bonheur, and then I used the same color palette here also. That's another one where I used a lot of watercolors. I think that it's okay. Nice page. At least those flamingos, they are definitely the focal point, thanks to the big contrast. Well, this one is so because maybe it wasn't the best idea to use similar colors for the leaves and for the turtle. This one I absolutely love, and it's again gouache background. This time it's Arteza gouache. And here I think that it's Sucolor pencils. Well, something budget, either Arteza or Sucolors. Well, this one I don't like. I don't know why. Even those lines you can explain here, so maybe that sounds, but something is bothering me. Maybe because I don't do very frequently pictures with yellow background, so it simply looks unusual for me. This one is simple and lovely. It reminds me about Venice. And I also want to do this one. Lovely page. And this one. So you can see that despite not being my favorite book, somehow it's easy to color here if you manage to hide hidden objects. that was another one where I used a lot of gouache. Maybe I had to use even more layers because some of the objects, they are still visible, but comparing to the initial state of this page, I really love it. I love how I did those glasses. First I thought that maybe I need to put champagne inside of them, but then I decided that no, I will just stop with blue water. Here on the sand it was huge amount of ugly objects. It was very dirty beach, but now we have this lovely sand, and again it's all thanks to gouache, this opaque paint which helps you to hide what you don't want to show. Here I exaggerated a little bit with metal paints, but I had a lot of fun, and that's what's important. I think that this one is unusual and lovely. And this one is probably my favorite in this book, together with the unicorn. And this one I did completely with pencils, and it's polychromos mostly, maybe a couple of Prismacolors, but majority it's polychromos pencils. And this one, I already told the story many times. It's long-suffering background where I tried to use distress crayons. Then I had to mask those areas with other media. But in the end, it really created interesting green background and good contrast to the anchor. Well, that's all. Now, two books by Alessandra Fusi. I actually did decent amount of pictures in her books, but every time it's a struggle because of the artist's style and because of the amount of details and a lot of excessive lines and strange objects. So here I have this giraffe, I have snake. Here I tried to mask hidden objects just with wax-based pencils, which are opaque and with dark colors, but I realized that it can only create mess. It's better to use some paints for masking, so that's probably why I don't like these pictures. I can clearly see now those hidden objects, and well, it's not the best thing. Many pictures are very busy with those strange objects. This one reminded me about Stephen King, and that's why I decided to color it. This one is okay, so here I managed to hide nicely all the frustrating hidden objects, and I do love the contrast between the background colors, those vibrant flowers, and those birds. They are so adorable. I always love them. And the final one, which is not bad, but I'm not very happy how I did greenery. I do love the central part with all those wooden statue and the volcano, but on the leaves I definitely had to work a little bit more. With Dreamweaver I had even worse luck, because all two pictures which I did here, I was very frustrated with strange and strangely shaped objects which I had here. Here I felt like it's very messy when I colored those compositions of the shells and other things which we have inside of the bottle, and even bigger problems I had with my space cat, which I wanted to color because we had this color along, color with Ukraine, and Sam was space. I first thought that it could be a very good idea to color not in my favorite Alliance World by Kirby, but to do something in other books. But then I struggled so much with this really badly made space costumes that even if nicely done cat, for me it didn't save impression from this page. It looks lovely, but to color it, it was a big problem. I didn't enjoy it at all. Next, I have Magical Airs. I think that the rest of the books, they will be by one by Atenasio and the rest by Bank. Magical Airs is really very lovely, and I constantly remind myself how many pictures here I want to do, but never have time. And so far I did only one. For this one I used mix of polychromos and subcolor pencils. Maybe if I would do it with watercolors, colors would be more rich. I don't know what is bothering me here. I do love how I did this weathered train carriage. I really worked carefully to show all the rusted parts, to show that it's old, but maybe color of the trees, it's not exactly what I wanted. So it's not bad, but somehow it demonstrated me that I need to be more careful, more attentive when I select colors to prepare better if I don't want to mess up those pictures. But book is really lovely, I love it, and I intend to color it more frequently. Next I have Fabiana Atanasio Deep Blue, and here I have one of my favorite pictures in the whole series. I'm very proud of myself how I colored this one. Exactly like I imagined it, I did it. And that's watercolor background, and the rest it's Prismacolor pencils mostly. There are many areas where I try to show like hidden things, magical spells from the books. Probably the girl was reading those books and that's what inspired those dreams about whales. That's lantern and creating highlights around it. I'm happy how I did shading on the bed. So that's definitely one of my best works here. And apart from that, I also have mermaid. I did it for one of mermaids, probably 2 years ago, definitely not this one. And here I had to use together polychromos pencils and Prismacolors. Prismacolors I used for the shell, you can clearly recognize clay rose, grey lavender. I absolutely love this color combo, and here I used it also. Lovely. So this book I definitely can consider as one of my favorites. Aviary, another great book. And shame on me because I have only one finished picture here. I love this page. I think that even if I used the most common trick of contrast between those cold and warm colors, and yellow orange always look quite well with violet and magenta, so nothing original, but here it worked really well for this page, so I think that it's very nice. I colored it very quickly without any problems, so I really love this one, and it has to be a hint to myself that I need to color more in this book. There are interesting pictures, interesting lovely birds. You can use some reference pictures and to color them in realistic way, or you can color more fantasy birds. So Aviary I can recommend to everyone. Voyage I really wanted. When I saw a flip through on YouTube, I wanted the book, but when I got it, I realized that it's difficult to color without any explanation. Still, I managed to do a couple of pictures. Every time I suffered, and mostly I suffered with backgrounds. Somehow I had problems with creating gradient with markers. I wanted to do different hues of green for the background, and then it will be a good contrast to the bark and to the beetle, and only by putting layer of pencils on top of markers, I managed to do this gradient. Somehow I don't know how to blend properly my Ohuhu markers on this paper. And another one with the same problem, marker, gradient, background, and then pumpkins. But this one is lovely. Again, the same contrast between orange and emerald green colors. It's one of classical color combos. If you use it, your page always will look nice. And finally, if we talk about books where I have pictures, that's Dragonspell. It's my recent purchase. I purchased it a couple of months ago. I promised myself not to purchase more until I will color something in all my mythographic books, but then I really needed something to cheer myself. I love dragons, and I am happy that I did it, because this one I also consider as one of the best in the series. Even if my first page here wasn't 100% how I imagined it, I still try to decide for myself, was it a good idea to use very similar colors for the mushroom dragon and things around it? Maybe in such ways the dragon is slightly messed up with the background, but I can explain that he happily mixes with surrounding nature. Here I used watercolors, and again with very small amount of water, so that's how I get this lovely dark red color. But probably next it's better to use something like acrylic or gouache paint. I don't like this light shining which I got from watercolors. So as a start it was good, and I definitely will try to pay more attention to these books, because I already created a list of pictures which I want to do here. I just don't have enough time. But pictures are relatively easy, they are not boring. We have dragons in different styles, and of course when you color such fantasy creatures as dragons, you can use any color palette, you can use any media, so definitely it will be quite interesting to color more in these books. So maybe for January and February I will try to do something in frozen fantasies, in winter wonderland, and then I will select Aviary and Dragonspell, or Dragonspell and Deep Blue as my main books. I already promised many times that I will color mythographic more frequently, but well, girl can dream, and maybe if I repeat this promise more and more, one more time, I will finally fulfill this promise. So wish me luck with mythographic books, because I do want to purchase more. As I said, I want to try at least one book by Weronika Kalinski. I saw that they promised to publish more books in the next year. I also wanted more books by Katin Bank. I do love Wild Summer, for example, but first I really need to color more in my existing books, because apart from this pile I also have books which I hadn't touched, and it's Odyssey. It's very challenging, but I also hadn't touched Cosmic Spirit, which is lovely, nice, easy, and I can't explain why I don't color here. I really need to think and to do better plans for the next year, and I need to include mythographic books in them. Well, thank you for watching, and until my next videos.